There lived a man named John Parker. John was an ordinary factory worker, known for his hard work and kindness. Every morning, he put on his faded blue uniform, grabbed his lunch, and walked to Maplewood Manufacturing, where he worked for over 10 years. The factory was large, filled with machines and the sound of clanging metal. It was there that John spent his days assembling car parts, dreaming of a better life, but never quite believing it would happen. John lived in a modest home with his wife, Lisa, and their 2 children, Emily and Ben. Lisa was a school teacher, and she always encouraged John to pursue his dreams. "You have great ideas," she would say, "and if you really want something, you can achieve it." But John was practical. He had a family to support, and his job, though tiring, provided for them. One evening, after a long day at the factory, John came home exhausted. He sat down at the dinner table, where he found his family waiting for him. Lisa had cooked his favorite meal, spaghetti. As they ate, John noticed Emily staring at him with curious eyes. "Dad, why do you work in the factory when you have so many good ideas?" she asked, her voice innocent and thoughtful. John sighed. "It's not that simple, sweetheart. Sometimes people have to work to put food on the table instead of chasing big dreams. But what if you could chase your dreams and still have food on the table?" Ben chimed in. His words stuck with John, igniting a spark of desire in him. That night, as John lay in bed, he could not stop thinking about his children's words. He dreamed of starting his own company. With excitement and fear flooding his mind, he realized he had to do something. The next morning, John woke up early. He sat at the kitchen table with a notepad and a pencil. He began to write down his ideas. He wanted to create a business that made tools for factories, tools that could make work easier and faster. He thought about the many improvements his fellow workers had talked about over the years. After weeks of planning, John decided to take a leap of faith. He talked to Lisa about his idea. "I want to start my own tool company," he said, his heart racing. Lisa looked concerned but supportive. "It sounds risky, but if you believe in it, I believe in you too. We can manage. Just promise me to be careful." With Lisa's blessing, John started to design his tools. He used his savings and what little money they had set aside for emergencies. He rented a small garage and began working day and night. He would still go to the factory during the day, but spend his evenings and weekends working on his company. After months of labor, John finally created his first tool. It was a simple wrench, improved by a unique design that made it easier to grip. He called it the Easy Grip Wrench. With his first product ready, John needed to find customers. One day, he decided to attend a local trade fair. He set up a small booth, proudly displaying his Easy Grip Wrench. At first, few people stopped by and doubt crept into his heart, but eventually, his determination began to pay off. A factory manager named Mr. Thompson approached his booth. He looked at the wrench and picked it up, examining it closely. "This is impressive," he said. "Can I see a demonstration?" John felt butterflies in his stomach as he demonstrated the tool. Mr. Thompson was amazed by its comfort and ease of use. "I want to place an order for my factory," he announced, shaking John's hand firmly. That purchase was a seed that grew into something bigger. Word spread, and soon John found himself overwhelmed with orders. He hired a friend named Mike, who had experience in manufacturing. Together, they worked tirelessly to keep up with the demand. As the company grew, so did John's confidence. He branched out and developed more tools, creating a range that appealed to factories all over the state. Each tool was designed with the input of workers, just like John had once been. He wanted to hear their ideas and make their jobs easier, just as his children had inspired him to chase his dreams. 5 years passed, and John's small company expanded into a successful business. He moved the operation to a larger facility, designed a logo, and branded his line of tools as Parker Tools. With hard work and a supportive family, he transformed from a factory worker into a proud business owner. One day, John received a call from a large national company interested in buying his tools in bulk. He was amazed and slightly nervous. The deal was worth millions. After much negotiation, John signed the agreement, bringing in a substantial amount of money that changed his family's life forever. Months later, John stood in front of a crowd at an award ceremony, holding a trophy for the Entrepreneur of the Year. He had come so far from the factory floor. As he looked out into the audience, he saw Lisa, Emily, and Ben all smiling proudly. "I was once just a factory worker," he began. "But with hard work, belief in myself, and the support of my family, I became the owner of $1 million company. If you have dreams, do not be afraid to chase them, because anything is possible." The crowd erupted in applause, and John felt a wave of happiness wash over him. He had achieved what he once thought was impossible, and it was all thanks to the love and encouragement of his family. From that day forward, he continued to inspire others, sharing his story and teaching people that with determination, courage, and hard work, dreams could come true. Maplewood Manufacturing was just a memory, and Parker Tools was now a name well known in the industry, built on the values of creativity and community. Asterisk name, Ricky Martin. Asterisk age, 21. Asterisk gender, male. Asterisk brief description, factory worker. Story, Ricky Martin, a 21-year-old with dreams bigger than the sprawling factory he worked in, spent his days assembling gadgets, each identical to the last. The monotony was numbing, but Ricky's mind was always racing, filled with ideas that sparkled like distant stars. He wasn't content just being a cog in the machine. He yearned to build his own. The factory, owned by the stern but fair Mr. Harrison, churned out electronic components for various companies. Ricky observed everything, from the supply chain to the assembly process, absorbing knowledge like a sponge. He noticed inefficiencies, areas where time and resources were wasted, and he began formulating solutions in his head. Ricky wasn't alone in his dissatisfaction. He had a close friend and colleague, Sarah, who worked in the quality control department. Sarah was sharp, detail-oriented, and shared Ricky's ambition. They often spent their lunch breaks discussing their dreams, sketching ideas on napkins, and encouraging each other to break free from the factory's confines. One day, while rummaging through the factory's discarded materials, Ricky stumbled upon a pile of rejected circuit boards. These boards had minor defects, but Ricky saw potential. He envisioned a way to repurpose them, creating affordable electronic kits for hobbyists and students. He shared his idea with Sarah, and her eyes lit up. "Ricky, that's brilliant," Sarah exclaimed. "We could start small, selling them online. I can handle the quality control, ensuring each kit is perfect." They began working on their project in secret, using Ricky's tiny apartment as their workshop. They spent evenings soldering, testing, and packaging their kits, fueled by passion and the unwavering belief in their idea. They named their venture Spark Kits, hoping to ignite a passion for electronics in others. Their first online sales were modest but encouraging. Word of mouth spread, and soon Spark Kits was gaining traction in the online community. Ricky and Sarah were overwhelmed with orders, juggling their factory jobs with their burgeoning business. Mr. Harrison, a keen observer of his employees, noticed Ricky and Sarah's increased energy and enthusiasm. He also noticed their frequent absences and the hushed conversations they had with each other. Curiosity piqued. He decided to investigate. One evening, he followed Ricky after work, his car trailing the young man's beat-up sedan. He watched as Ricky entered his apartment building, a worn-down structure in a less affluent part of town. Mr. Harrison hesitated, then decided to approach the building. He knocked on Ricky's door, and Ricky, surprised to see his boss, invited him in. Mr. Harrison's eyes widened as he took in the scene. Circuit boards scattered across the table, soldering irons buzzing, and boxes of Spark Kits stacked in the corner. "What's all this, Ricky?" Mr. Harrison asked, his voice a mixture of surprise and curiosity. Ricky, initially apprehensive, explained his venture, his voice filled with passion as he described his vision for Spark Kits. Sarah, who had been in the back room, emerged and added her perspective, emphasizing the quality and affordability of their kits. Mr. Harrison listened intently, his expression unreadable. When they finished, he remained silent for a moment, then a smile crept across his face. "I'm impressed," he said. "I always knew you had potential, Ricky. And Sarah, your attention to detail is commendable." He then made an unexpected proposition. "I've been looking for ways to diversify the factory's output," he said. "What if we partnered? I can provide the resources and infrastructure, and you too can run Spark Kits as a subsidiary of the factory." Ricky and Sarah were stunned. It was an offer they couldn't refuse. They accepted, and Spark Kits officially became part of Mr. Harrison's factory. With Mr. Harrison's backing, Spark Kits exploded in popularity. They expanded their product line, hired more employees, and even started selling their kits in retail stores. Ricky and Sarah were no longer just factory workers. They were managers, innovators, and entrepreneurs. But their journey wasn't without its challenges. They faced competition from established electronics companies, supply chain disruptions, and a constant pressure to innovate. They worked long hours, made tough decisions, and learned from their mistakes. One of their biggest challenges came when a rival company released a similar product at a lower price. Ricky and Sarah knew they had to differentiate themselves to survive. They decided to focus on education, creating online tutorials and workshops to accompany their kits. Their strategy worked. Customers appreciated the added value, and Spark Kits became known for its commitment to education and community. Sales soared, and the company's reputation grew. Years passed, and Spark Kits continued to thrive. Ricky and Sarah remained at the helm, guiding the company with their vision and passion. Mr. Harrison, now retired, watched with pride as his former employees transformed his factory into a hub of innovation. One day, a large corporation approached Mr. Harrison with an offer to buy Spark Kits. The offer was substantial, valuing the company at over $1 million. Mr. Harrison, knowing that Ricky and Sarah had poured their hearts and souls into the company, insisted that they be the ones to make the final decision. Ricky and Sarah were faced with a difficult choice. Selling Spark Kits would make them wealthy beyond their wildest dreams, but would also mean relinquishing control of the company they had built from the ground up. They spent days deliberating, weighing the pros and cons. They sought advice from mentors, friends, and family. Finally, they came to a decision. They decided to sell Spark Kits. Their decision wasn't driven by greed, but by a desire to make an even bigger impact. They realized that with the corporation's resources, Spark Kits could reach a wider audience and inspire even more people to pursue their passion for electronics. The sale went through, and Ricky and Sarah became millionaires. But they didn't rest on their laurels. They used their newfound wealth to start a foundation that provided scholarships and resources to aspiring entrepreneurs. They wanted to empower others to pursue their dreams, just as they had done. Ricky Martin, once just a factory worker, had become the owner of $1 million company, not through luck or inheritance, but through hard work, innovation, and an unwavering belief in his vision. His story was a testament to the power of dreams and potential that lies within each and every one of us. He proved that even the most ordinary of people can achieve extraordinary things with a little bit of spark. Tom Jenkins had always been known as the quiet guy. He worked in a steel factory in a small town called Millville. Every morning, he would wake up before dawn, eat a quick breakfast of toast and coffee, and head to the factory, where he worked for 8 long hours. Tom's job was hard. He lifted heavy steel beams and operated machines that sometimes roared like thunder, but he kept his head down, focusing on his work. Tom had dreams, though. He wanted to create something of his own. He often sketched designs in a small notebook during his breaks. Whenever he heard about new inventions, his heart raced with excitement. But life in Millville made it easy to forget dreams. Bills piled up, and everyone around him seemed content with routine. Among Tom's co-workers was Sarah, a bright woman with a spark in her eyes. She was Tom's friend and often shared her dreams with him. Sarah wanted to open a bakery, but she couldn't find the courage to take the leap. Tom encouraged her, telling her that they both could achieve their dreams if they worked hard and stayed focused. One day, while lifting a heavy steel beam, Tom heard a loud crash from the machine next to him. A machine had broken down, and chaos erupted in the factory. Tom quickly ran over to help. As he arrived, he saw that his boss, Mr. Edwards, was trying desperately to fix the problem. "We've got to get this machine running fast. Production has to keep going," Mr. Edwards shouted, panic in his voice. Tom's hands moved quickly as he took charge. He recalled all the times he watched the mechanics repair machines and applied the skills he'd learned over the years. He worked side by side with Mr. Edwards. After a few tense moments, the machine roared back to life, and the factory returned to its usual grind. Mr. Edwards looked at Tom with a newfound respect. "You saved the day," he said. "Have you ever thought about moving up in the company?" Tom hesitated. "I don't know. I'm just a factory worker. Everyone starts somewhere. If you want to learn management, I could help you," Mr. Edwards offered. Tom's heart raced. For weeks, he thought about starting his own business, but didn't know how. "I'd like that," he replied, a small smile spreading across his face. Days turned into weeks, and Tom spent his mornings learning about management while working his shifts. He attended meetings, learned how to budget, and understood the different parts of the business. Tom found himself enjoying it more than working on the machines. Meanwhile, Sarah was realizing her dream as well. She decided to take a risk and open a small bakery called Sweet Treats in a cozy corner of Millville. Business was slow at first, but Tom supported her by spreading the word to his co-workers. Soon, her bakery became popular, known for its delicious cupcakes and warm atmosphere. One evening, while Tom was at Sweet Treats with Sarah, he had an idea. "What if I created a company that makes bakery supplies? We could provide flour, sugar, and all kinds of baking items to bakeries like yours." Sarah's eyes widened. "That's brilliant. There are so many bakeries that would be grateful for good supplies. We could help them grow." Tom's mind buzzed, and on the way home, he started planning. He worked late into the night, sketching ideas for his business. At the factory, Tom began sharing his thoughts on the new business with Mr. Edwards. His boss saw potential in Tom's idea and offered to invest in the startup. With Mr. Edwards' backing, Tom started his business called Bakery Essentials. They rented a small warehouse and filled it with baking supplies. Tom used his savings and the investment to get everything started. They created a website, and soon they were getting orders from bakeries across the county. Business was booming, and Tom felt a rush of excitement. But that excitement didn't last long. Business brought challenges, and one day, a severe storm hit Millville. The warehouse lost power, and the flours and supplies started to spoil. Tom and Mr. Edwards raced against time to salvage as much as they could. They worked together for days, hauling out what they could save and replacing the spoiled goods. When the storm passed, they faced a harsh reality. Bakery Essentials had lost a significant amount of stock and money. It seemed like everything was crumbling around them. Tom felt his heart sink. "Maybe I should give up," he thought. But Sarah was there to lift his spirits. "Remember what we talked about? Every setback is a lesson. You can't give up now," she encouraged. "You've come so far." Inspired by her words, Tom pushed through the doubt. He reached out to local bakeries, explaining the situation. Many of them rallied behind him, placing orders to help him recover. "We believe in you, Tom," they said. This support reignited Tom's drive. He worked tirelessly to rebuild his company, using the lessons from the past. Over the next few months, Bakery Essentials began to flourish again, and Tom learned to navigate his business with renewed confidence. Years later, Tom stood in a large office with his name on the door. It read Tom Jenkins, CEO of Bakery Essentials. They had grown into $1 million company, supplying bakeries all over the region. Tom looked around, remembering the days when he was just a factory worker. The journey had been challenging, but he had learned the power of resilience, teamwork, and believing in dreams. Tom walked down to the bakery where it all began. He found Sarah busy icing a cake. She looked up and smiled. "Look at what you built," she said. "I couldn't have done it without you," he replied, beaming with pride. "Let's celebrate." As they shared a slice of cake, surrounded by laughter and friendship, Tom realized that his journey was only just beginning. He was more than just a factory worker now. He was a dreamer and doer who turned dreams into reality. And for Tom, that was the sweetest victory of all.